You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by Erin Walker and Heather Dyer. Tune in weekly to get inspired and make good food.
Okay, welcome to Three Kitchens Podcast. We are your hosts, Heather and Erin. Hi, Erin.
Hello, Heather. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good.
Our guest today is a friend of mine, Karen Pottruff. She and I grew up together. So I've known her a long time. She's an avid outdoors person. She came to it as an adult. Her whole life, she wasn't out in nature doing camping and hiking and all this kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
She told us that she had gone away to university in Ontario, and then a few years later, maybe even 10 years later, she came back to Alberta and decided, well, I'm so close to the mountains and all these things, I'm going to get out and do some stuff. And she's one of those people who doesn't just go small. She definitely gets out there.
Sometimes you don't realize what you're missing when you grow up. Mm-hmm. And so going away and coming back, you get that refreshed perspective and you're like, oh, I want to do this stuff. And then you're like, oh, I really like this. I want to do more of this.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And she's not just like a hiker, backpacker, camper. She is an Ironman triathlete. She has done triathlons in places like Dubai, in the desert, in the extreme heat. Wow. Like she's a little bit nuts. Nuts in the best way, and so we invited her to come and talk to us about packing food for day hikes and backcountry camping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had some really good recipes for some high protein snacks that are like the no bake freezer kind. Mm-hmm. I really like having those when I'm out. And even just running around the city, when you're running out and doing stuff with kids, even if you're not hiking the Great Divide or
out for 30 days at a stretch in the wilderness,
you still need that energy to kind of get through. And the kids are running, and it's great to have these little quick, high energy snacks that'll kind of push you through the day.
Mm-hmm. We hope everybody gets a little something out of it, even if it's just for putting your pack on for a day hike. Hopefully you get some ideas from what Karen has to say. But let's talk quick about a couple of these protein bar recipes that she shared with us, because we've made 3. I made 2.
Yes, you went and took on 2 of them. Thank you.
And you made 1. And I think out of the 3, 2 of them were quite successful. Would you say? The other one was, I had some trouble. I don't know.
Let's get the beets out of the way.
The beets. Okay. This is the one that didn't work quite as well as I expected it would. So you've essentially got puree, like a cooked beet that you're going to put into a bar that you make with coconut flour, and
you've got dates, cashews, cashew butter or peanut butter, beets, coconut flour, sea salt, and cinnamon.
There you go. And it's supposed to form a bar.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I had, I don't know why, but they wouldn't hold firm. So I tried to form them into balls. I tried to make them into bars. And I put chocolate on them because I thought maybe the chocolate will kind of hold it together. I did like a chocolate coconut oil mixture. I tried that, and I tried chocolate with butter. Either way, I did like the flavor because I love beets. I thought the flavor was really good. We'll still share it. We'll put it on social media. We'll link to where you can find the recipe, and you all can go and try it. If you love the taste of beets. If you don't, this is not one of those things where the taste of the beet is hidden.
No.
Like a beet brownie where you don't taste it. No, this is beet flavor.
Is beets. Yeah, but it was good. It was a great flavor.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how you'd pack it.
It wouldn't hold up in a backpack. Karen?
No.
What's your secret?
We have some questions.
Okay, number 2.
I made a chia chocolate energy bar. It was walnuts that were ground up into a fine crumb. Then you add dates and you whiz it up in your food processor until it's nice, thick paste. And then I just took that out of my food processor because it's a little guy, and it wouldn't fit all the ingredients in. The recipe did say you should do it all in there, but I just put it into a bowl and mixed by hand the rest of the ingredients in, which were oats, chia seeds, chocolate chips, coconut, cocoa powder, vanilla, and salt. And you just press it into a parchment lined little dish, put it in your freezer for half an hour, take it out, slice, dice, and enjoy.
Those ones were very good.
And they were bars.
They held the shape.
Yeah.
And they're tasty. My kids were having them for breakfast this morning.
Oh, nice.
That was what they were eating with their yogurt.
Yeah.
So I would definitely make those. So there you go. I think those bars would probably travel well in a little bag.
Yeah, those were really tasty. And then
the third option is a quinoa bar. And Karen said that these taste like an Eat More bar, which I didn't really pay attention to until I went to make them. And then I read that and I was like, ew, who likes Eat More? Eat More's like probably got to be my least favorite chocolate bar. But I think these actually were quite good. It was cooked quinoa, dates,
almonds, peanut butter, chocolate chips, and honey. It was easy.
Pretty easy. It's all going together. Again, you're doing kind of making a little date nut ball. Kind of, you know, when you put it in the food processor and it kind of ends up being a ball, and then you're going to mix the other stuff in with that. Yeah, then it said form into bars. And I was like, I formed them by hand into like little bars, where I should have pressed it into a pan like you did, but there was really no instruction. And I wasn't thinking, this happens to me, everybody. I do too many things at one time. I've got things on the go. I was making dinner. I was making bars. I was doing all that. So I formed them into little bars. They ended up not looking as awesome, but they hold together.
They do.
And then I just put on top a layer of like a little chocolate kind of glaze that hardens a bit when you put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
I put that on top because as Karen says, everything's better with chocolate.
She's not wrong.
Nope, she's not wrong. And these I thought they're okay. I liked the chia one better, but I thought this one was passable.
This one was good. I liked it as well. I thought that the chocolate on top, it was almost like fudge.
Yeah, like, it was really kind of gooey.
I was like, what did you do to this? Because
I don't know why.
This is like fudgy, and it went really well with those bars. So
yeah, those are some good options. So yeah, enjoy this conversation with Karen. Thank you, Karen, for sharing your experience, and have fun hiking out there, everybody.
Have type 2 fun this summer.
Sure. Welcome, Karen. We're really happy to have you join us on the podcast.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. This is I'm a little stressed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not an expert. I'm like,
well, to us, you are.
You have gone out and survived and fed yourself, and you've come back to tell the tale. So I think you get a certain degree of expertise in that.
You don't have to be an expert to share your experience and your knowledge. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and why you're here? We know you're an avid outdoors person. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
All right. Well, I guess I never used to be an avid outdoors person. And it really wasn't until I moved back to Alberta, started hiking a bit more. And I think because I like challenges, and I was like, well, everybody's just doing these little day hikes. We'll add start doing the backcountry in a couple of days. And it's like, no, let's go to more. And I didn't really realize that I would enjoy it as much as I did, especially after I did a 10-day through hike. And I was like, never again. I'm never doing more than 10 days or more than, I was like, 5 days is my limit. And fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to the Great Divide Trail.
Which is how long? How long was that?
So that one was over 1,000 kilometers, but I only did about 800 kilometers. So I didn't do the entire trail because I didn't get enough time off of work to do it. So I was out for 38 days.
Wow.
So much for 5 days. Now you're doing 38 days.
Yes.
Maybe 10 is that like medium, not so good number. It has to be a few or it has to be many. No in-betweens.
Yeah.
And that's like the Great Divide, that's through the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, for anyone who's not familiar. That's not like just out for a walk.
And it is actually very remote. Like I was chatting with a couple other through hikers that have done the hikes down in the States, Pacific Crest Trail and Appalachian Trail, which everybody sort of knows about. And they were just like, wait, you did the Great Divide Trail as your first? They're like, that is crazy. They're like, that one's really hard because there's like really no escape a lot. Like there's not a lot of escape routes along the way.
And you went on your own.
Yes.
Crazy lady, I think.
You're in good company. Crazy is always welcome here.
Yeah. I may not join you, but I love the stories. I love hearing, and Karen does a thing when she does any kind of adventure where she tracks it on a map. Like maybe, is it with your Garmin or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then she sends a link out or puts it on Facebook, and we can all go, you can check in and like see where is she today and how far has she gone. And it's like, it's crazy, but it's fun to follow.
But I have to say, I don't think I would have done that if COVID hadn't hit, because I love to travel.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I was like, well, I guess I'm stuck in Canada. What can I do? And that was on my list to do. And I kept thinking I was going to do it when I retired. And I was like, well, I might as well do it now. Got time. Can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Because you've done some adventures overseas too.
Done a little bit of hiking and stuff overseas. And yeah.
Last year you went to Spain.
The Camino de Santiago. So that's about 800 kilometers. So that was going from Saint-Jean, I always get this wrong, Pied de Pont, or is it Pied de Port? I don't know. It's either a bridge or a door. I can't remember. You're going to Santiago de Compostela. And so you just follow a little route. But that is luxury travel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty much you just hike for a bit, go have coffee, go out again, have some lunch, have a beer, just keep going, have a bed at the end of the night, at the end of the day.
Oh, that is nice. Not as remote then as
No.
some of the Canadian adventures.
No.
That sounds more my speed. Somebody to cook for me at the end of it. Yeah.
It's the bed.
And the bed. That's true. Totally true. Well, why don't we talk a bit about day hikes and what are we packing in our packs for snacks and lunch? We can come up with some good ideas for people, maybe things they haven't thought of. I know you could put a peanut butter sandwich in your bag, but what do you like to pack in your bag for let's say you're going for the whole day?
All right. Well, there's wine in the bag.
Oh.
So there I have a platypus. So you don't actually take a bottle of wine with you. You transfer it to the platypus. Less weight.
Nice.
Doesn't break. And I've also really enjoyed, sometimes I'll take a little charcuterie with me. So some meats and cheeses and some breads. And so it's really nice if you get a really nice location to sit, have your wine and your charcuterie.
Nice.
Wow, this is really upgrading the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Totally.
Heather just alluded to. Toss that out.
I like this a lot. We may be hiking together more. We've hiked before. I don't remember us having charcuterie or wine.
No, not on that one.
No. No, not that one. And we've hiked other times too, and I don't remember that. But we'll have to make that happen. Yeah.
For those day hikes, because then I can actually make some stuff that, you don't have to worry about it going bad. So then those things do like my own little protein balls or energy balls or thing.
Ooh.
Do you have a favorite? What do you put in the balls?
I have like a really easy go-to one, which is this peanut butter, dates, and protein powder. Mix them up and then make them into balls and then throw some cinnamon on top. And it keeps well throughout the day.
Yeah, that sounds good.
How do you choose your protein powder? Because I've never bought a supplement like that before. I've bought protein bars for camping or hiking, but not ever the powder to cook with.
Yeah, so I usually will go with, I get the unflavored one. So I'm just not a fan of a lot of the flavored ones. You can sort of taste that fake sugar kind of taste.
I'm right there with you. I hate that.
Yeah, so I have like an unflavored, just whey protein, and then it can go in absolutely anything. Like I even put that in oatmeal, if I need some extra protein in the morning for like the backpacking sort of things. But yeah.
It's a good idea.
Another, like I've also done things like where, like not using the protein powder, but using sort of the coconut flour or almond flour and stuff. Yeah, I haven't done this one in a while, but it's been like with beets. So roasted beets and mixing it up. And then you have like beets with coconut flour and I can't remember some other stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. I would not have thought of beets. Is it kind of like when you put like beets into a brownie or something?
A bit, yeah. but you do taste more of the beet.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and quinoa is another great one to make the energy bites and protein bars. So I have one that it kind of tastes like an Eat More bar. So it's like quinoa and dates and almonds and peanut butter and then drizzle chocolate on top, and yeah.
Mm.
And so you said you make those only when you're doing day hikes because of their keeping?
Because I wouldn't want to really do it on past, I don't know, 3 days kind of thing, like outside of a fridge.
Oh,
Like I'm not sure how well it would keep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it does get chilly at night in the mountains, but risk adverse because I'm like, well, I don't really want to be sick out here.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no.
No, I think that's important. And you also don't want to pack something that might get squished, depending on what else you've got in your pack.
Have you found like the best way to pack for that day hike?
Not too much. Like I try to just keep my food up on the top, and I've got little pockets for all of my, the protein bars or whatever I'll be taking on this, like the hip belt, or nuts and jelly beans. And so then those are easy to grab as you're hiking. So you don't actually have to stop and take your pack off. And
Right.
But yeah, it's hard because then once you start moving things, if you're taking off layers and putting layers on, and then the food just gets shoved around, and then you're like, well, okay.
Yeah. And you don't want to have to pack everything into like boxes.
Maybe for a day hike, you could.
Yeah, I suppose.
A little extra weight, but.
And then you got to fit the wine in there.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. A lot of times for day hikes too, I don't usually like do a lot of stops for lunches. So because most of the time I just snack. Like I have a whole bunch of snacks, and I just keep eating different things along the way, like every hour, an hour and a half, and yeah.
Unless your plan is to like hike to a beautiful spot, have your picnic,
exactly. Yeah,
and then hike out.
Yeah, so I also love, like, there's these pouches of tuna that you can get, and so those are really good to take with some pita and make up your sandwiches there, or even like just throw in some hummus in and like some dips, and like day hikes too, I'll throw in some fresh veggies, a crunch in there, and
yeah, that's a great idea.
And then I always pack an extra meal, like not an extra full meal, but extra food in case I get stuck out there. So in case something comes along, then I've always got some extra food to last me for the next day, or until somebody can come rescue me.
Yeah, that's, I guess, something to think about.
Do you also pack all your water, or do you bring like a filtration device for day hiking?
I'll take a filtration device with me just in case.
Oh, okay.
So I try to pack like enough water, what I'll need for the day. But then depending on what, if it's really hot or something, then may drink more, may drink less. So I just like to have it to be prepared.
What's your preference, a filter or like tablets?
Filter. I've done tablets and it leaves kind of a taste, but I will use tablets if the water looks really sketchy after I've filtered it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah. So one of the adventures that Karen and I did, it may have been when you were still living in Ottawa, and I came out and we went portaging with a big group of people. We had, I think, 3 canoes, maybe, in Ontario. Was it Algonquin where we went? Yeah. And we did, 2 nights or something. Yeah. So we had to portage. I think we did like one lake and then portage and then another lake and then camped, something like that. And we used the purification tablets, I remember, on that trip, because it's the first time that I had ever use them, and I thought it did make the water taste kind of bad. I remember thinking like, well, okay, if you say it's safe, I'll trust you, Karen, but it doesn't taste good.
She needs me to carry this canoe, so she's not going to hurt me in this process.
She's not out to kill us all.
Yeah, chlorine,
it's
iodine,
chemical. Yeah.
As well as water. I take electrolytes. Yeah.
So like you add it to water, or is it a separate thing?
Add it to water. I mean, more so if it's a hotter day, but it also, like, it depends on the hike too. Like if it's a very like full day, I usually like to have at least one electrolyte drink with me, just to replenish all the salts that are leaving me as I sweat going up the mountains.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, day hiking is really easy. You just go grab whatever you want.
It gets more complicated when you have to account for the number of days and the amount of food and how heavy those things are. So we'll see what you say about that when we come back.
Hey, Erin, let's take a quick break to tell the listener all about our website.
I really love that if you want to hear our story about these recipes, you can tune into us. But when you want to make them, they're just a click away. No scrolling.
Just get right to it.
Exactly.
Usually at the end of a recipe, we give you a few ways to zhuzh it up. Either a way to serve it, a way to modify it, tips for how we like to eat it, and of course, all of our episodes, including the speakeasy bonus episodes and the drink recipes, that's all on there. So visit us over at threekitchenspodcast.com.
Tell us about some of these longer, bigger adventures that you've done.
Yeah, the bigger hikes, like I didn't really learn until before Great Divide Trail. Like before I did the Sunshine Coast Trail, which was a 10-day one. And I sort of thought, oh, okay, I'll just double this and I'll put this and add, so I just put all this food together and I was like, that sounds good. And we pretty much starved. We were so hungry.
Oh my God.
So after that, I was like, oh yeah, if I'm doing a big trip like this, I ended up with an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, I need to have, at least 3,000 calories a day to get myself going. I was looking at all of the dehydration packages, all the protein bars and everything to see how many calories would be in each thing and how much I would need for each day. So that was quite a bit of work planning and trying to figure out. Like my whole kitchen table was just covered with all the food.
So with the Great Divide Trail, there were certain points where you had access to replenish, or you had people meet you and bring supplies, didn't you? Weren't there a few points in there? Yeah. So you didn't have to go 38 days or whatever straight with no other refilling of your pack.
No, I was doing 10 days and quite a few people that I met along the way, they did more resupplies along like 5 days or something. And I was just like, I'm too lazy to actually try to think about sending packages to that many places. I'm like, 10 days? Okay. I've carried 10 days of food before. I can do this. And so that's how I I would package up and everything like to send off and like, or give to my friend to bring me so that I could replenish and stuff and get going.
So were you doing like dehydrated prepackaged meals that you then add water to? Do you like those?
Yeah. And then with that trip, because mainly I used to just do all the buying, the dehydrated ones, but I was like, okay, this is going to get expensive if I've got to have this many meals. So I had a friend who lent me her dehydrator and I attempted to dehydrate some food, and some were a success, some a fail.
Oh, okay. Tell us an example of each. What was a really good one that worked out for you?
Really super easy is like black beans mixed with salsa, puree it up into a food processor, throw it in the dehydrator. And then when you rehydrate it, like you just put the water in, rehydrate it, throw in some cheese. And it's a really good little black bean salsa soup kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That's a great idea. I was wondering what it was going to make when you pureed it. Well, I'm like, what's it going to be? Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that.
That is really good.
Yeah, super simple. And the fail, and it was the most time-consuming one of all the dehydrating ones, was the smoothies. So I was like, I went online and I'm like, okay, I can do these smoothies. And so I mixed up all these different batches and I threw them in, and it took forever to dehydrate. So then I finally got it dry and I was like, okay, and now I have to grind it up. So I was like, okay, I've got a coffee grinder. We'll throw it in there, and it took forever to grind.
Yeah.
I didn't test it out before. I was like, no, it's going to work. So I'm out on the trail and I'm like, yes, I'm going to have my smoothie this morning. And it was chunky and it would not mix with the water.
Oh.
It would not dissolve. And it was just like, I'm like, oh, no.
And you have to eat it. It's not like you're like, well, I'll get something. I'll order a different meal.
Oh no.
Luckily, that first portion of the trail, I was in a heat wave and I wasn't super hungry. So I wasn't eating all my food, which probably it wasn't the best because I didn't have a lot of energy, but I just couldn't eat a lot of food. Mm-hmm. So I had those smoothies kept going to the bottom of the pack, but I carried them the whole way, like whatever I had. And then I left them in my resupply box that I was not going to be eating.
Right.
Erin and I, so our families and another friend's family a few years ago did a hike. It was like a day hike in, we camped for 2 or 3 nights. I can't remember. And we did some day hikes, and then we hiked back out. For that little backpacking trip, I dehydrated chili. So I made turkey chili, and I tried to keep it fairly dry. Like in terms of, I didn't make it too liquidy. And then I put it in my dehydrator, like on the trays, and it took forever to dehydrate. And then I vacuum packed it and put it in the freezer. And it was great because it was really light. And then we just put it in a pot with water and like rehydrated it and heated it up. And it worked out really great. Dehydrating a dish like that sounds really odd. Just like dehydrating a smoothie sounds really weird too, right? But you can dehydrate almost anything if you give it enough time.
Oh yeah, like I know a lot of people are just like, well, make cooking for yourself, make a large batch of things, and then just dehydrate what you're not going to eat. And I was like, oh, okay. It was weird because I did I dehydrated pasta, and so I cooked the pasta and then did all the stuff, and then I dehydrated. And I'm like, well, now it's just back to the pasta. Like I was like, I don't understand.
It sounds redundant.
Yes, then it just rehydrates faster than you would.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
It makes sense.
Or you could just bring pasta and cook it.
Yes. Although I don't put anything in the pot. I just boil water and add it into a bag. So I don't have dishes.
Right.
No. I am the type of person that does not wash things. I lick my spoon and it's like, all right, good for tomorrow morning.
Nice.
That's the way most camping dishes should be.
Flavor, extra flavor.
It's a seasoned spoon. It's been well seasoned.
Do you dry fruit? Have you ever made like fruit leather or anything like?
I haven't done the fruit leather, but I have done apples. So one of my friends, he had an apple tree, and then he's like, hey, I've got a bunch of apples. Would you like some? And I'm like, sure. Well, he brought me a giant laundry basket of apples to dehydrate. I don't know how long I was dehydrating apples for days. Still have these dehydrated apples like 2 years later. I'm just like going through them. And I've also pouches of almond butter that's mixed with chia seeds, and they're like so they're not in jars. Yeah, and a lot of thru hikers that I've met that do these big treks and stuff, they carry in like peanut butter, olive oil, and or the extra calories.
Olive oil. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, throw olive oil on everything. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I do the mashed potatoes, dehydrated mashed potatoes with everything.
Oh, I've never thought
That's
of that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And then I'll throw in you can throw in chili powder into it to give a little flavor, some garlic, or, I'm throwing in like chicken broth into it. And then I always take like a block of cheddar cheese with me.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had it last for about 10 days. It gets a little sweaty if it's hot, but I'm like, keep adding it to things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good too.
That's a good idea. So when you're packing for these long-term trips, what's your best strategy?
Yeah, and I haven't really mastered I have one food bag. So it's like a bear-proof bag. It's called a Ursack, and then you put a scent-proof bag inside of that. So you've got those, but then you usually have to dig to the bottom. So I try to do big Ziploc baggies, kind of like here's dinners, here's snacks, and then try to organize it. And in the evening, I prepare what food I'm going to have for the next day, and a little baggie kind of thing that I will throw into my bag outside of that. So it's always sort of organizing either in the morning or in the evening after I've done things.
I find even like we camp with a trailer, which I know is nothing like what we're talking about here, but whenever we're going for, even if it's 3 days, I write out in advance, okay, first day, dinner, if we're arriving at dinner. Next day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. What are we eating and what are the snacks that I've got? And then even in something as spacious and as a trailer, I planned all out, which I don't do at home. I'm not a meal planner, but I planned all out so that I know exactly and I haven't forgotten anything. I feel like if you're not kind of thinking ahead and planning it out, then you're just going to find yourself, it's going to be a big mess.
Yeah.
And more so when you're with a backpack.
Yeah.
But is there something that you always like to pack as like your luxury item when you are doing those longer treks?
I heard her mention jelly beans.
Yeah. Jelly beans are definitely, because they're heavier. Mm-hmm. They don't melt. and they're just so tasty. And they have to be jelly bellies, though. I'm
Oh, okay.
gotta have all the flavors.
Do you eat the popcorn ones?
I'll eat all of them.
Really? There's none you don't like? Some of them are so awful.
Yeah, there's a few, like sort of the darker colored ones. I can't remember which ones, what flavors they are. It's just like, no.
The fun thing about that though is like if you're tired, it's toward the end of the day and you're just like, oh, I just want to finish this leg of the hike or whatever. I'll just start popping jelly bellies, and the surprise of like, what are you gonna get is like kind of keeps your mind occupied, right? I like that idea.
And if you get one that you don't like, it's just, misery loves company. I hate this flavor. I hate this hiking. It's raining now.
It's raining.
Yeah, the jelly bellies and the cheese and coffee.
Oh, that's a necessity. Yeah. That's not a luxury.
That's right where I was going next was, do you pack coffee?
Yes.
If you said no, I'd be like, well, who are you?
But there are times that I'll just get up and go without coffee. So, but I do the instant, or there is like on sort of weekend trips, I have the AeroPress, so then I can have a real coffee. And then actually I discovered this company, this Albertan company, that they make coffee that's in like these tea bags. So then it's just, you steep it.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. I would only take it on a weekend trip because then you have to carry out the bag.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's another consideration when you're choosing packaging and...
I wish I had thought of this and found out about this before the Great Divide Trail. So it was like taking the pre-bought dehydrated meals, removing it from the packaging, putting it into your own little Ziploc bags, even like the compostable ones, which are lighter. And then I just get a silicone zip. So I pour that into there and have my meals, all that garbage. And it's much lighter and it packs better into the food bag as well.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's your dish, pretty much.
That's your cooking pot.
So instead of packing like a dish or just pour the water into that, and and then the key is just mark what that is on the baggie when you transfer it out of your bags, unless you just want a surprise. And like how I don't like doing dishes, I just rinse out the silicone bag, and then it's like, all right, that's good. It's washed for the next day.
It's great. So Karen taught me a term, and I think it was called type 2 fun.
Yeah.
The idea is that at the time, you fucking hate it. It's awful. You're having the worst day. It's like, why did we ever do this? I hate this so much. And then later, maybe a few days, maybe longer, as you look back and you think, okay, I can appreciate that. There was some fun there. Like something about it was fun, but only in hindsight. Only with some distance from it, and probably only while thinking I'll never do it again. That's type 2 fun.
I'm a fan of type 2 fun. Something about building that resilience. I don't know.
Well, some of us want to go back and do it again, Karen, Erin, and some of us will just camp in our nice cozy trailer.
Heather.
Well, thank you so much, Karen. This has been fun, and hopefully our listeners have learned a few things about packing for day trips and camping trips.
I love chatting about things like this.
Yeah, and I can't wait to follow along while you're off on your adventure. I'll be following from comfort of my home or my RV.
I've never used protein powder and made my own stuff, so I'd like to try that out.
I will dig them up and send them.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, everybody, go out and have amazing adventures and tell us how it goes.
Plan a summer of type 2 fun.
And now for the fine print. Join us over on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and on our website at threekitchenspodcast.com. Remember, when you like, follow, subscribe, and leave a review, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening.
It is intense at the end.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thanks for confirming my fears.